Here's the thing I've learned about business. You can't out strategy the unconscious beliefs that are holding you back from creating success. And in today's episode, I'm inviting a very special guest on to talk about the power of unconscious beliefs and how they can support us or hinder us in our business and what we can do if we want to achieve a next level of success. Welcome to another episode of the Best Damn Coach podcast. I'm excited to have another Best Damn Coach here with us today. Welcome to the show, Julie Costa. I'm so excited you're here.
Hello, I am so excited to be here.
Fun fact, I kind of knew but didn't know Julie vicariously through online communities because internet. And then we ended up meeting at a live event, and maybe we talked for like 2 minutes. And we were both kind of contemplating making a big investment in ourselves and entering into a mastermind. And I don't think you'd fully committed. You were still like borderline. I'd already been like, yeah, I'm doing the thing. But I had to leave early to go to like a kid's game. I never saw you again after that. But I was like, I like that.
It was so
energy. I like her. I hope she does the thing. And then we showed up and here we were.
I know. Well, and I was excited too, because at the event, same thing. I felt like I had seen and heard of you online, but didn't know you. And then I was like, saw you at the event. And then I'm like, wait, she's joining the mastermind. And that's, felt like good energy, even though I didn't know you well yet.
Yes.
And I was still contemplating. And then I was thinking of the people that were already in. And I was like, oh, I want to be surrounded by people like that.
Oh, I'm honored. Same. It's been really fun to get to know you and watch you in this beautiful new season of life you're shifting into. And the more we talk, the more I find that we're so aligned on so many coaching techniques, coaching modalities, beliefs about the coaching industry, share same struggles. So I feel like it was so perfectly aligned to have you on the show. So I'm excited to dive in and geek out on coaching with a fellow coach.
Me too.
Give the amazing audience listening right now just a brief snapshot of how you got to right now doing what you're doing now.
Great question. By accident, I was working.
Same.
Right. I feel like for most people, it's by accident. I always had a coaching ability.
Hold on. I need to go back. I feel like I crowded out. She did say I was working for Lululemon, which is cool in itself. So I just want to make sure that was clear. And now you can go.
I was working for Lululemon for 10 years and always had the coach element inside me. And during that time, because I bebopped around a lot of local fitness studios supporting them, I was coaching a lot of them on different things they could be doing because I was seeing other things in other studios. And fast forward, got fired after a 10-year career there. And that really catapulted me into the world of entrepreneurship and started my first business, which was more of a membership community model of bringing them together, hosting a lot of events. And then COVID happened. And so we pivoted to more coaching because they needed support with creating additional streams of revenue because their businesses were closing, if not about to close. They were losing jobs. And that's when I pivoted to business coaching more full time. And then I feel like maybe a lot of coaches, when they first get started, I took on too many clients too soon, undercharged, and just got severely burnt out. And then that is when I stumbled upon hypnotherapy.
So cool. So right now, tell us a little bit about the kind of work that you're doing via hypnotherapy and what that looks like and how you're serving clients currently.
Yeah. So instead of focusing more so on business coaching, my business pivoted to focus more on the business hypnotherapy side of things, because what I was seeing was, sure, can support you with the strategy. And you and I both know we can know all the things. And what usually stops us in our tracks is the fear of visibility, the fear of being seen, that I'm not good enough, the proving, the comparisonitis. And so I definitely saw more of a need to support my people there. And so that's when I made the pivot to being a business hypnotherapist and supporting business owners with the hypnotherapy and subconscious side. And that's how I support a lot of my one-on-one clients now. And the business continues to shift. So the meat and potatoes of my business now is actually teaching, training, and certifying others in the subconscious work.
So cool. I didn't know Julie back in the day when I did my NLP and hypnotherapy certifications. And I was telling her when we were together, So it was like a 3-part certification, really. It was the first 3-day event. And then the next one was an 8-day live in-person event. And then for the master prac work was 21 days in person. I left my family in the middle of July. And she was like, what? I'm like, yeah, it was crazy. And now hindsight, I would not have changed a thing. But I love the way you do it. It's differently. It's different. It's more feasible. Being away for 21 days from my family was really hard. Shout out to my amazing husband and children, because it was like only 3 years ago, maybe, or something. It was post COVID for sure. But I love the way you go through your process, because I think it's more doable for most people.
Yeah, we extended over a 6-month period. And so when I was going through my trainer's training, they had said, hey, you can do this in a 1-week intensive. And when I let that land in my body, I was like, that doesn't feel necessarily that great for me right now. And then same thing with the master pack. They're like, you could do it in 2 to 3 weeks. And I'm like, yep, that is not feeling really good in my body. So we extended 6 months. However, over the years, I've had people say that's too long for them. Only a couple. So now I am going to offer, in addition, like an accelerated version over the
Oh,
course of like 2 months, a couple weekends.
that's cool. Like pick how quickly you want to, like whatever time capacity.
Yeah,
I love it.
choose your path.
So let's talk about more of the subconscious, like ideology and understanding. I love what you said. Is I'll say this because we were chit chatting before we went live. Is I share over and over that for me personally, the journey of entrepreneurship was like the greatest catapult into personal development that I never knew I needed. And I think like God was like, hey, I know you're just scratching the surface of your potential. So accidentally become an entrepreneur to really elevate and be called up into your purpose. And it was,
Oh, yeah.
it has so many painful parts. And in the beginning, I know I am guilty or was guilty of telling myself this story that I'm just missing this strategy. It's just I gotta have more funnels. And not to say like funnels are important. I don't dispute any of the things. I think strategy is key. But I realized the more I unpacked what was telling me the stories inside and using modalities, I started to notice, okay, yeah, there's something to hear. Like my business is only going to grow as much as I raise the ceiling of my belief system and my brain work, which is why I went and got certified, because I was like, I need to give more of this to clients myself. But maybe you could just speak a little bit to, even if you want to share your journey or just why you believe that this is so key.
100%. So I will share my journey as like I was that coach that was coach hopping left and right to one coach to the next coach to the next course, like course hoarding. I wasn't even completing them, like taking each course, going into a course graveyard, investing in every program, investing in every mastermind, looking online and being like, why haven't I achieved the success that like Coach Sally has achieved yet? And I was doing all of the things like strategy wise, yet a lot like the needle wasn't really moving to the extent that I desired. Or I should say, like, the output I was putting out there wasn't matching what was coming in for sure.
Mm.
And so
Doing
I was
all
like,
the things but not getting anywhere.
no. And so I was like, there's got to be like something I'm missing. And I was really searching for like the keys to my success in all these external strategy places. And again, same like you said, like strategy is 100% important. And I am a firm believer and you need both subconscious and the strategy. But something for me needed to shift and change. And I knew it wasn't going to be another business investment. And I had done a lot of personal development. And I was like, it's got to be something different. Like I just don't like know about yet. And I stumbled upon like a hypnotherapy program and started dabbling in it. And I started to see, feel, hear like small shifts and wins personally, professionally, which led to like big ones. And I was like, there is something here. And even my business was stuck. I remember in the beginning, like around a couple grand a month. And I just wanted that 10 grand month. And then it started happening. And I was like, oh my God, like I couldn't believe I like told my mentor. And then that was happening consistently. And I was like, and I hadn't really changed much of my strategy at all. There was a lot of beliefs that shifted on the back end. So for me, I was just really like in a place of like not believing it was possible, the comparisonitis, all the things I unpacked. And then that work paired with the strategy was literally like the rocket fuel.
Yeah, rocket fuel for sure. And I like that you're just so emphasized. I think The thing that pisses me off a lot in the personal development and coaching space is maybe the misrepresentation of thought work, and I'm going to put manifestation in there too, because I think the conception is like, I'm just going to think it into existence, and I'm just going to set intention, and I'm going to sit on my booty for the next 12 months, and it's just going to come to fruition, right? And so I think there's so many people that feel frustrated by, like, why isn't it working for me? I'm like, because you have to actually still take consistent, aligned, and inspired action towards the thing. It's just doing it for me, doing it out of desperation and needy, graspy energy is a million times different than doing it from a place of ease, effortlessness, and total detachment.
100%. And I always say too to clients and students, I'm like, the three requisites for change are always like the subconscious work. So that like belief work, like what operating system are we working out of? The taking aligned action, because you need to take action. You can't just sit on your booty. And then three, the choosing what you focus on, right? So if we're only focusing on, which I was, well, why is she so successful? Like, why can't I? Why can't I? Versus like, hey, like this is so possible for me. And like, this is what's available for me. Like those three things, um, all needed, all needed for change. Got to
So
take
good.
action.
Yeah. So let's speak to you started to allude to something that I think is key. I feel, and reject this if this isn't true for what you witnessed, but with my clients specifically, one of the greatest operating systems or the beliefs that we're most stuck in or focusing on is what I would say doubt or
Mm-hmm.
disbelief. I would group them together, I guess. So maybe you could give like a tangible, so they could feel like your work in action, and give like an example for somebody struggling, like, is this really possible? Or they've just like they're in their 9 to 5. They're so ready to be a full-time coach. They're having a hard time believing that they are going to be able to replace that income or something like that. Could you give us some language or a tool or even a reframe or something that shows up a dip into what you do around that notion of doubt or disbelief?
Yeah, there's a couple things. The one thing I'll always share with people are like, say like, hey, how does this feel to do? Is first start stacking the evidence that it is possible. Because we only want to focus on the evidence that it's not possible for us. So it's like, okay, can you focus on the evidence and start stacking that in terms of, okay, the conversations maybe you're having with people. So that is then showing you and showing your mind that, hey, people are interested in like what I'm doing. So whatever that evidence looks like for you, like having that somewhere that you can go back to is going to be really key for that connection to be made in your brain. So stacking evidence. And then that's going to help you continue to choose to focus on what you want versus the lacked out what you don't want. Two, visualization, because you and I both know the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between reality and imaginary. So even if it's like taking a couple minutes before you go to bed at night or first thing in the morning, and I always say those times because your brain waves are a little bit more slowed down. So you're a little bit more likely to be in the subconscious, is just visualizing that like ideal outcome or that like ideal thing that you're doing, whatever it is that you want to achieve. Because once we start creating that mental image in the mind, again, the subconscious doesn't know the difference between reality and imaginary. So it's going to be easier for it to move towards that thing because it thinks it's real. So you do that. And then the other thing that's easy to do too is those like looping negative thought patterns. They have become so automatic, unconsciously on the back end. So I know for me, ones that always come up for me are like, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Things I've been working on for a very long time. And like with this work, I can work through them a lot quicker and easier than before. But it's something called a switch task. So this just helps you change those automatic thought patterns. So for example, I used one the other day for someone with social media. Let's say if you're saying to yourself like, oh, I should be posting 5 times a day on social media or whatever it is. Because again, that may be someone else's beliefs about social versus yours.
Yours?
Whatever you catch yourself saying negatively, like say it, hear it, say the word switch, and then replace it with something that's a little bit more positive and believable. So it could be like, oh, I should be posting more on social media. Switch. I'm giving myself grace to figure out how I want to show up on social media as a business owner right now. And so it's like the more that you do that And the more you keep doing like the switch, and you could say it out louder in your head, those automatic patterns start to go back into the unconscious so that those become automatic instead.
Yeah. All three are so powerful. It's so funny because before you and I hopped on this recording, I took my daughter to we're recording this in the summer and she's doing some like strength and agility training. And like lots of us women, going through the teenage years is trying when it comes to friendships. And we were literally sitting at the table working on, I would say, pattern interrupt, similar concept as the task switching or switch tasking. I've never heard it called that way. I didn't learn that way. But it's just so powerful. But the visual I always give is I have two Australian shepherds. And when I let them out in the morning, the first thing they do is go on this high trek around the corner of the property because our two neighbor dogs are like, I swear they're waiting for each other and they're yipping. So if you go in my backyard, you just see this worn pattern of where the dogs run back and forth because every day. And so I like to use that visual because it also shows us what's happening with that same thought. Like I should be posting, right? And the more we groove or the more we move, we create that groove. And just think, if I want to fill that groove in that the dogs have created, it's a lot easier if it isn't deep dirt or a deep hole. It's not going to take as much dirt. And so the quicker I can reroute. So we've put up barriers. We're working on like verbal signals, right? To slow them down, all the things. But this is like what's happening in our brain nonstop, our entire life, right?
I love that analogy.
Yeah. Feel free. Feel free to steal it away too.
That's a good
Um,
one.
and I love evidence stacking too. And one thing I want to reiterate that Julie said too is if we're only stacking our evidence based on clients, especially when you're in a low season or you're just starting out, you're going to keep searching. So I love how she pointed to things that had nothing to do with actually having a client say yes. How many people opted into your freebie? How many conversations? How often are you actually showing up to talk about your business? Like all of these things are very like great measurable tasks that have nothing to do with client acquisition.
Yep. 100%. And usually that's where we want to go to, right? Is like the client acquisition. And there's so many other things you can stack for evidence that like, yeah, this is working.
1,000,000%. I want to go a little geeky here just into some presuppositions of the unconscious mind, because one thing that I feel like I'm constantly teaching, and I'm sure you work on with clients and in certification, is like the unconscious mind, its default wiring is negative, is the not. Right. And I think this is a tremendous self-awareness piece to understand because I hear so many people talking about things you already said. It's not working for me, or they're focusing on the not. And I try to reiterate, that's not broken. That's human. So what do you say to that? Or what's your take home or offering around that? Because I think so many people are ruminating that there is something quote unquote wrong with them. Like, welcome to the human club. We're all built the same.
My first question back to that'd be like, well, when did you decide that?
Hmm.
That's like typically my first question, especially if someone's like, this isn't working. Maybe like, when did you decide that? Because it's that again is like another automatic thought that we just say, I feel like on repeat for so many things in life and business. And it's like when you actually stop and really pause and like, oh, when did I decide it is not working? Like they actually have to go in and think about that.
Yeah, which is so good. And then the conscious response is like, well, I didn't. I'm like, and let's explore.
And actually, an example, I had a student reach out last night and it was something came up with a client and she was like, well, I did something wrong. And I was like, well, when did you decide you did something wrong? And then she just went, well, it probably went back to childhood and having to do something with my mom. And that's typically what happens, right? Like something happens at a young age, we assign meaning, we bring it into conversations. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong about what happened with this client, but that's your automatic response.
Yeah. I think that's one of the coolest things. Well, like a riff on this. This is one of the like if I would say the top things about being a coach and entrepreneur, and then I would say adding NLP into the mix for me, is that it has completely blown out the concept of right and wrong for me. And I don't know how you are, but I grew up very affirmed by my performance, was like straight A's, dancing, star of the basketball team, highest accolades in college, moved into motherhood. I mean, I was the most perfectionist mother, gonna do it right, the best, cloth diapers, breastfeeding, so hard on myself, like all of these things. And then I accidentally stumbled into entrepreneurship. And I feel like, again, God was like, ah, let me show you that actually there's no right way in life, there's no wrong way. And that's what I love about being in business with getting to help my clients blow that thought that they've been carrying with them is you can actually build your business however you want. And if you don't want to work Mondays and Fridays from the beginning, you don't have to actually. And if you do, that's great too. And if you want to see one-to-one clients, wonderful. If you never want to see a client one-to-one, that's great too. Like, let's do what you want. And so I love just like slowly watching like the lights come on of like, oh, everybody that has success has actually done it differently, and you can too.
Yeah. I know, but we all get stuck in that trap in the beginning of, oh, I'm seeing how they're doing it online. I'm seeing how so and so's doing it online. And again, I had this conversation with a student because she said something like, well, that's what a lot of marketing classes have said that I should do. And I was like, okay, and what do you want to do for your business? Right? Because it doesn't need to look, yeah, it's not going to look the same way as somebody may teach in a marketing class. Like, you get to decide. And that gets to be so freeing when you unpack that there's no right or wrong way.
Yeah. And I think the best of the best coaches understand this at their core. And their job isn't to have all the answers. Their job is to be able to guide you to the answers. And then maybe occasionally step into the consultant role where you're like, hey, I really think this might work, or this is what works really well for my clients. I know for me, I'm balancing the hat switching a lot because the clients, I believe inherently, my clients have their answers. Sometimes we just need a little nudge. We just need to be the bumpers on the bowling alley for them occasionally to stay the course and not be too distracted by all the outliers that exist.
Yeah.
Well, you obviously have a certification and you feel passionately about that because I would assume because integrity matters to you and you're good at what you do and you want people that are going to go out and use these modalities to be vetted and proven. But you and we've talked when we've been together in real life around the coaching industry in general. And you can go to ICF or wherever and you can just see this plethora of coaching certifications. And I think it can be a trap for people. I think
Mhm.
it can be a trap to disguise a belief underneath that I'm not qualified enough, I'm not ready, I'm not enough, right? And we can be in this perpetual cycle of certification. And I also think sometimes it disguises the qualifications that of their lived experience. And I don't think you should be some Joe Schmo off the street saying, I've done this for 5 hot minutes and now I'm ready to try to, live or change people's lives and sit in transformation. So like, I'm curious, what's your thoughts around certification when it's necessary, etc.?
Yeah. So it's such a good topic and it's such a great question. I do believe that coaches should be certified. That that is my belief. And lived experience is also important. Like, you do need the two. I know through the work that I do, and because I started coaching without being properly trained and certified, most coaches that are not certified are not actually coaching. They're consulting, they're mentoring, they're strategizing. So they're not actually doing what a coach's role is. And I think that's where like the waters can get like a little muddy.
Totally.
And I'm showing up if I'm like not qualified or certified in my model of the world based on my lived experience, and that's it, without having an understanding of how to properly support somebody else in their model of the world. And I think that's where we can potentially cause harm to people when we don't know like the coach's role. So I think having your lived experience is super important. And I share this all the time with students. I was like, yes, you're doing practice sessions with each other, and the best learnings and the best experience are going to come when you're actually out there doing the dang thing. Right?
And being paid to do it because that changes the
Exactly.
entire dynamic.
100%. So I think it's like having the skills of knowing what it means to properly support somebody. And then also having like the learnings and the lessons and the lived experience is where the magic is. And I will touch on too, like I know a lot of people who think or have that belief of I'm not qualified or credible enough until I'm certified. And even after becoming certified, like that belief is still there. And then therefore they're chasing that, like you said, like the next certification. So it's like, this is why the subconscious work is so important, because it's like you've got to work on that belief system, because it's like you're continuing to chase something because of an operating system that you have. And a lot of people fail to like take the information they've learned and to just start implementing
Totally.
and integrating.
Yeah. I totally align, my first biz, we have similar backgrounds in that like we're kind of health nuts and nutrition people.
Yeah.
My first company was in the health and nutrition space. And I think one of my greatest struggles that had me in the certification trap is I was comparing my lived experience and who I was to PhDs who were coaching nutrition. So it kept me, I was on the verge of literally, I was looking for schools to go get my doctorate at because I thought, oh, that's going to make me more ready. That's going to make me more qualified. What I also had to realize, which was a gift thanks to my own like inner work, is I also have to live within Amanda's scope of practice, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually not trying to coach the same kind of clients that these PhDs are coaching, who are maybe in themselves PhDs in training, or high level athletes working, or performing at colleges, who are looking for a level of science. Who I am able to support and I'm really good at is a mom who's gained 100 pounds through pregnancies and has lost her identity, because guess who that is? Amanda's old self, right? And
Yes.
so I was able to marry that lived experience of going through that and gaining weight and losing weight and keeping it off and understanding and educating. Obviously, I also had a background, right, in science, but also then having a certification to pair alongside of that. And I think that's really, like, to reiterate what you said, that for me is the sweet spot of, yes, you have a certification, like just like your people, they're coming out of Anchored, they are so certified, but many of them still have this lived experience that I want to see them tap into. And I want to see them bring all this goodness that they've learned from you and all this 20 years of corporate, or, 15 years in NASA or whatever it is, right? Like, bring that in, because that is going to attract the right people who want to learn from you. And I think this is where a lot of people discredit kind of the previous life and only focus on academics, which is kind of like, then you're just like everybody else, right? If we don't tap into the
I agree.
the portions of our old self.
And it's like, it's important to have those credentials. And I feel like most people don't care about the credentials. So for example, like nobody cares about hypnosis. Like nobody cares about tapping. They just care that I can solve their problem. Like that's it. And like the storytelling piece of like my life is what
Yeah,
connects.
which you're so good at. You are such a strong point around that. And we'll give her social handles and all that good stuff at the end, but you should definitely follow her on social because she does a great job with her content too. But I think that's so true. I can't even tell you on one hand how many times people have asked me like my credentialing. And typically, honestly, it's a red flag for me. If somebody were to ask me, I would be like, oh, that's actually not a good fit client. I'm not sure what they're trying to go after here. But what I've also realized, or I've heard clients say to me, because I don't ever talk about that I am hypno certified or NLP or, whatever the 5 big certifications I have. It's just that you feel it when you work with me, right? You
Yeah.
feel that. And then they're like, well, where'd you learn that? Or how'd that happen, or whatever. Now I have you to point some people back to, for sure. But it's both taking the certifications and getting the reps and coaching real life humans and finding that sweet spot, because great hypnotherapists aren't all doing hypnotherapy the same way, right? He or she who is most flexible with the client is, and that's going to look different from person to person.
100%. I love that you said that too, because it's so true. It's something people are going to feel. It's like they don't necessarily need to know, but they're going to feel like the skill set and the background that you
Yeah,
have.
totally. Yes, I love that. You're amazing. I'm so grateful that you can just share your perspective too. And I love that we both share this high integrity in different ways of the coaching industry. It's one of the reasons I started the Best Damn Coach, because I was like, yeah, I knew personally I'd never wanted to have a certification, but I also wanted to maintain the integrity. So I know that I can do that in my own way and have these kind of conversations. So it points people in the proper direction and being well equipped to change lives, and not doing it out of integrity for sure.
And I love that you hold that standard too. Integrity is like, that's like my number one core value. So like when I see other business owners like upholding that, it's that your community is in such good hands.
Oh, yeah, same. So share with my people where they can connect with you, learn more, all the good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Instagram's typically where I hang out when we talk about the interweb streets. So julie.m.costa. My DMs are always open for questions, conversations. I'd say like that's like the main place, Instagram for sure.
Amazing. And we'll drop her handle here and sharing the episode. I'll be tagging her. I am so grateful that you took the time and space to be with us and share your goodness. And I know my people are too. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.